morning, everyone, or evening. Ah, I'm so happy to see all of you. Hi, Mom and Dad. Hi, Pranam Pepe. Technology Baba. Oh, hello. You're new to the circle, or you've changed your screen name. Hi, Mukesh. Great to see everyone. And I had asked earlier today about Monday and kind of what that word brings to you, what it conjures up in your mind. Hey, Palak. Hey, Ashwati. Shine. Hi, everyone. And it's so interesting, this word Monday, right? One person has said that a magic Monday. Yeah, that's cool. But most of the time, what I'm hearing is Manic Monday or Monday motivation or getting it done on Monday, starting the week off with full power and drive. And I have been wondering about that. I've been toying about this concept of Monday being this primary day of, pushing forward. In fact, even today in New York, I can hear outside me there's so much more traffic sounds than, Wednesday and Friday. I think New York is also starting to slowly ease out of lockdown, and there's a lot more traffic sounds that I'm hearing. And on the weekend, I had been talking to some friends of mine and was saying, I kind of, maybe Sunday, I'm not going to do much. And I was listening to this song by Otis Redding, sitting on the dock of the bay. And one of his lines is, you know, sitting here wasting time. And I thought about that phrase, wasting time. Huh, is it really wasting time? I don't know. And so I started reading more and more, as you know I like to do. And I found this amazing quote by an Israeli filmmaker called Itai Keshat. And he says, the next time you find yourself doing nothing when everyone else appears so busy, just remember that it's not necessarily you who is wasting your time. I loved that. And I found out that he has an independent web series called Sluggish, which explores the art, science, and history of doing nothing. And I thought for Monday, it actually is a cool thing to talk about. So Itai had been talking to a man called Stephen Poole, who's a British cultural critic who wrote a book about the evolution of work and how we associate work with value. And he said that he was on a subway in London, and he saw this guy sitting across from him who's wearing sweatpants and a Nike shirt that said, I'm doing work. And it got Stephen Poole thinking, because it was a little bit weird, because right there on the subway, he wasn't doing work. He was sitting on a train. By his outfit, it looked that he's probably going to go jogging or do some sports or lounge around. And at the same time, any action or activity that isn't considered work is undervalued. The way I do something of value, or let me say that again. The way to say I do something of value means that it's got to be work. All the business magazines, literature out there are talking about super productivity, and they say, take a executive power nap or have a treadmill desk so that you can work out while doing work. I mean, even exercise is called work out. So Stephen Poole started to research the word productivity, and it had been used for quite a while. Initially, it was only applied to agricultural land, produce, productivity. And using it to measure people was something that came about much, much later. And it goes back to the birth of scientific management in the early 20th century. A person called Frederick Winslow Taylor got credited with starting to think of workers in this way, to think of productivity in terms of humans, using a stopwatch on laborers to figure out how to measure the actions they carried out and finding ways to increase productivity of the workers is called Taylorism. And later it was called Fordism, and definitely it got a lot of cars built. And there's an old car ad that says, we weren't just building engines, we were building a way of life. So this way of thinking assumes a person is basically a machine to produce output. And we are treating people like machines or computers. And while it might be okay to measure assembly line work that way because it's so quantifiable, it doesn't always work so well in the modern world. And a lot of things that many employers claim that they find most valuable, like creativity and independent thinking, well, can you really quantify it? You know, if you're obsessed with measuring the output of people in terms of their productivity or what they generate or revenue or things like that, you might miss out on what is really important in that particular person and also what's going on with them. And fast forward, let's say 100 years, and now measuring productivity is even more confusing. And there are tons of different types of systems of, ways to do things in our lives and how to be not only productive at work, but also how to be productive with leisure. So in some ways, Stephen Poole says that all this thinking about productivity piles another set of meta work on top of the set of work that you already do. And, you've seen it in movies, even with bizarre things, that the scientist will have an elaborate setup in his home that not only wakes him up with the smell of brewing coffee, but also fries his egg. And, the egg will plop onto a plate, and then the plate will arrive and plop onto a table by the time he takes a shower. And, this is the way he can gulp down his breakfast and then be ready for work and be super efficient. And basically, over time, we have consciously and subconsciously adopted this notion that getting more and more things done in the day is what is of real value, as opposed to the quality of the things that we're doing, or even figuring out whether all that we're busy with is worth it or, wait for it, enjoyable. Because life was all along, I think, and even now, meant to be enjoyed, right? And most of us, like my friends were talking, we're running around like headless chickens, doing anything to feel like we're doing something. And I know families who do that with their children too. They enroll them in class after class after class after school. And I will say, for my personal life, when lockdown began, my department began to have almost, I think, 1 or 2 meetings a week and tons of progress reports. And I felt like I was spending a lot of my time performing in my reportage. The thing is that some aspects take a lot of time. I'm a musician, and creative things often don't just happen according to a specific timeline. And yet, I was really feeling this pressure to prove that I was working. And I was feeling less and less worthy in a lot of these meetings, and feeling also guilty and carrying that weight around, which then further kind of hindered my creativity and imagination and the sparks that sometimes come when, I'm thinking of something completely outside of my work. you know and a good meeting is when we got a lot done, but sometimes a good meeting is realizing what we don't want to do and realizing that maybe there's a better pathway. So a German sociologist and economist, Max Weber, describes this need to do more as a confusion of activity with morality. I love this idea. I love that he thought about this. And, with the coming of the Industrial Revolution, Weber says that we began to equate being productive with being good. And that's why today we believe the busier we are, the better we are as people. And don't we do this? We teach our children that if we're highly productive and we achieve great grades, then they'll get into a good college, and then if they're highly productive in that good college and have all these amazing things on their resume, they will have a successful, meaningful life. And we teach them this because we believe it. But I think somewhere there is a problem with this belief system, right? And we even use in our language the word waste when we're doing things that allow our mind to rest, our body to rest. Sleeping is just as important as working out or, you know, perhaps doing whatever it is that you think is important in your life. And a lot of people think that when they're sleeping, they're doing nothing, but that is the time when our body is regenerating and healing itself and growing. So, with all this, I thought to myself, I am going to do the opposite of what I usually do on Mondays, which is I'm going to actually just give myself time to go slow on Monday. And so far, it's actually been quite lovely. And so, as we breathe today together, let's start. And let's use a little phrase from one of my most favorite writers and thinkers. It's Thich Nhat Hanh. And he says, smile, breathe, and go slowly. And ever since I read that yesterday and then a couple times today, I found that unhurriedness was really lovely. And I just feel able to take stock and even think slower and talk slower and think thoroughly. So if you feel like it, you can say it or think about it. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. And maybe 3 nice deep breaths. Smile, breathe, and go slow. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Monday and a beautiful, chill week ahead.